Before the story begins, ask yourself this: how much of your happiness depends on other people's approval? Let me know in the comments below. If stories like this inspire you, make sure to like the video and subscribe to LostMoral for more powerful motivational stories and life lessons. Rain tapped softly against the windows of a small apartment as Arav stared at the glow of his phone screen long after midnight. His latest post had only received a few hundred likes, far less than he expected. He refreshed the screen again and again, waiting for the numbers to rise, but they barely moved. A strange heaviness settled in his chest. Just hours earlier, he had felt confident while taking the photo, carefully adjusting the lighting, fixing his hair, and rewriting the caption nearly 20 times. But now, none of that mattered. The silence of the notifications made him feel invisible. Arav had not always been this way. As a child, he loved drawing, reading stories, and playing football with his friends until sunset painted the streets orange. He laughed freely and never worried about what others thought of him. But as he grew older, the world around him slowly changed. Everyone seemed obsessed with attention. People online were becoming famous overnight. Classmates measured worth through followers, likes, comments, and appearances. Slowly, without realizing it, Arav began measuring his own value the same way. At first, it seemed harmless. He started posting pictures casually, then videos, then carefully edited moments of his life designed to impress strangers. Every notification gave him a rush of happiness. Every compliment felt like proof that he mattered. But over time, that happiness became temporary. The more attention he received, the more he needed. If a post performed badly, his mood collapsed. If someone else gained more popularity, jealousy quietly poisoned his thoughts. His mind became trapped in endless comparison. Soon, Arav stopped enjoying real life, unless it could be turned into content. He visited cafes only for photos. He bought clothes he could not afford just to look successful online. During conversations with friends, half his attention remained fixed on his phone screen. Even moments with his family felt empty because he was constantly chasing validation from people who barely knew him. One evening, Arav uploaded a motivational video he had spent weeks creating. He believed it would finally make him popular. He imagined thousands of people admiring him, sharing his content, and praising his talent. But the video failed completely. The views barely moved. Worse, a few people mocked him in the comments. Arav sat frozen, reading every insult repeatedly until the words carved themselves deep into his mind. That night, he could not sleep. His thoughts spiraled endlessly. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe nobody cares about me. Maybe I'll never become important. For the first time, he realized something terrifying. His happiness depended entirely on the opinions of strangers. The next morning, exhausted and emotionally drained, Arav visited his grandfather in a quiet village outside the city. Unlike everyone Arav followed online, his grandfather lived simply. He spent mornings watering plants, repairing old furniture, and reading books beside a small river behind his house. Despite owning very little, he always seemed peaceful. As they sat together under the shade of a large banyan tree, Arav finally confessed everything. "I feel empty," he admitted softly. "No matter how much attention I get, it's never enough." His grandfather listened silently before picking up an old clay cup resting beside him. He handed it to Arav and said, "Fill this cup with water from the river." Arav walked to the river, filled the cup carefully, and returned. But before he could hand it over, his grandfather poked a tiny hole in the bottom of the cup. Water immediately began leaking out. Confused, Arav said, "The cup can't stay full anymore." His grandfather smiled gently. "That is what happens when your self-worth depends on other people. No amount of attention will ever feel enough because the emptiness inside keeps leaking." The words struck Arav harder than any insult ever had. For the next few days, Arav stayed in the village. Without social media, the silence felt uncomfortable at first. His hand constantly reached for his phone out of habit. His mind craved notifications the way a thirsty man craved water. But slowly, he began noticing things he had ignored for years: the sound of birds at sunrise, the calmness of the flowing river, the warmth of genuine conversations that needed no audience. One afternoon, Arav found an old sketchbook from his childhood hidden inside a wooden drawer. Inside were dozens of drawings he had made long before he cared about likes or approval. Looking through the pages, he realized something painful. The happiest version of himself had existed before he became obsessed with validation. That night, Arav sat alone beneath the stars and understood the truth. He had spent years building a version of himself designed to be admired by others, while completely abandoning the person he truly was. When Arav finally returned to the city, his life began to change slowly. He still used social media, but it no longer controlled him. He stopped chasing attention and started creating things that genuinely mattered to him. Some people lost interest in him. Others stopped noticing him completely. But for the first time in years, he felt free. Months later, one of his friends asked him, "What changed you?" Arav smiled quietly and replied, "I realized that people who constantly seek validation become prisoners of other people's opinions." As the city lights flickered outside his apartment window, Arav finally understood the lesson that had changed his life forever. The moment you stop needing approval from others is the moment you begin becoming yourself. Moral of the story: validation from others can never replace self. Real confidence begins when you stop seeking permission to feel valuable.